The night began like any other on Earth. The streets of every city glowed with warm lights, children laughed, and families gathered in their homes. The stars above looked peaceful, scattered across the black sea of space. No one could imagine that in only a few minutes those same stars would turn into humanity's greatest fear. At first, people thought it was a meteor shower. Streams of light crossed the sky, golden and red, burning brighter than anything seen before. People pointed up, smiling, filming the sight with their phones. It looked like nature putting on a show for the world. But then the lights didn't fade, they grew larger. They moved with purpose. They formed patterns too perfect, too sharp. That was the first moment when hearts began to tremble. In observatories across the planet, astronomers leaned closer to their screens. Their voices broke with disbelief as they realized what those lights truly were: massive ships. Thousands of them, cold, dark, and shaped like blades descending through the edge of the atmosphere. The world's communication networks filled with warnings, confusion, and fear. Then the sky turned red. Cities around the world went silent as the alien armada revealed itself. The ships hung over the clouds like an endless storm, stretching from horizon to horizon. Their engines roared like thunder, shaking the air itself. Governments tried to contact them, sending desperate signals of peace. But the aliens answered first. Their voice came through every television, radio, and phone. It was deep, cruel, and filled with an echo that made people's bones ache. "We are the Koresh Dominion. You are now subjects of our will. Kneel or be erased." The words froze the planet. People fell to their knees, crying, praying, hoping this was just a dream. Parents held their children close, soldiers gripped their rifles, and leaders sat in silence, powerless before the sky that cried fire. For the first time in centuries, all of humanity felt truly small, tiny against the weight of the universe. But not everyone surrendered to fear. Far beneath the mountains of Colorado, in a secret underground command center, a single man watched the chaos unfold on massive screens. Admiral Jacob Reese, commander of Earth's Defense Coalition, stood still while the world above him seemed to collapse. Around him, young officers shouted for orders. Others whispered that resistance was impossible. The Koresh ships were enormous, their weapons unmatched. No human army could stand against such power. Yet, Jacob's face showed something different, something strange. Calm, steady, almost amused. Captain Mira Solon, his second-in-command, looked at him with disbelief. "Sir, their fleet covers the whole sky. They're blocking out the sun over half the planet. Our satellites are gone. Communication lines are failing. What are your orders?" Jacob didn't answer right away. He watched the live feeds, the alien ships above New York, London, Tokyo, and Cairo. He watched people running, hiding, praying. Then he turned to the window where the faint glow of the burning sky touched the mountain peaks. Slowly, he smiled. "They came to scare us," he said quietly. "They think fear is enough to break humanity." Mira frowned. "Sir, with respect, we can't win this." "Their technology," Jacob interrupted her, his voice calm but firm. "Mira, they've made one mistake." She blinked. "A mistake?" "They think we've never seen the impossible before." He looked at her with eyes that carried the weight of every war humanity had ever fought. "They think fear will make us kneel. But we are the children of fire and storm. We've built cities in deserts, ships in the void, and dreams that touch the stars. Fear is what made us stronger." Mira stared at him, her breath catching. For a moment she could almost feel his faith burning through the room. Outside, thunder rolled from the alien ships. Energy beams sliced through the sky, striking the oceans and mountains, a warning of destruction to come. And yet, in that cold bunker, one man still smiled. He turned back to the control table. "Send this message to every command center, every outpost, every soul on Earth," he said. "Tell them the Koresh think we will kneel. Tell them they came to terrify humanity." He paused, looking up at the screen showing the largest alien ship blotting out the moon. But we laughed instead. The officers around him looked at each other, confused but moved. That strange, fearless smile spread through the room like a spark. Even Mira found herself smiling faintly, her fear fading. Somewhere above, the alien armada waited for submission. But instead of silence, they began to hear something else. Radio waves carrying human laughter, music, and voices refusing to tremble. Across the earth, people stood up again. The invaders wanted fear. What they got instead was defiance. And so began the longest night in human history. One that would test not just our strength but our spirit. For when the universe sent its monsters to make us bow, humanity answered with a sound the stars would never forget. We laughed. The next morning, Earth was quiet. But it was not fear that filled the streets. It was determination. The Karesh Armada hung over every continent, a shadow that could crush cities with a single strike. Yet humans moved with a strange energy, a nervous excitement born from the realization that the time to surrender had passed. In the bunkers beneath Colorado, Admiral Jacob Reese held a global conference. For the first time in decades, all the leaders of humanity, the politicians, scientists, generals, and engineers, spoke together as one. The feeds showed panic in some cities, hope in others. Jacob's voice was calm, his eyes bright with conviction. "Look at them," he said, pointing to the screens showing the alien ships. "They think their size will frighten us, that their weapons will bend our will. But fear has never ruled humanity. Today we fight not because we must survive, but because we refuse to kneel." Captain Mira Solon felt a shiver run through her. The fear of yesterday was fading, replaced by the strange warmth of belief. Around the world, people began to understand what Jacob meant. Ordinary civilians, farmers, engineers, and teachers suddenly felt a courage they had never known. Humanity had always survived impossible odds, and this was no different. In Tokyo, the children of the city were evacuated, but the teachers stayed, organizing defenses in schools and community centers. In Cairo, engineers worked day and night retrofitting old satellites and missiles to give humanity even a small chance. In New York, citizens formed volunteer squads, preparing to defend bridges, hospitals, and power grids. Every nation, every culture found a way to resist. Above Earth, the Karesh watched in silence, confused. Their monitors expected trembling humans. Instead, they saw organized chaos. Humans were running, yes, but not from fear. They were preparing. They were building. They were readying themselves to fight back. In the Colorado Command Center, Jacob studied the Armada through the massive viewport. The ships floated like dark stars against the burning horizon. He knew the alien weapons could tear a city apart in seconds. He also knew that a direct attack would cost billions of lives. They needed more than strength, they needed strategy, unity, and heart. He turned to Mira. "We can't meet them ship for ship, gun for gun, but we can do something they never expected. We can make them feel the power of human spirit. Every invention, every plan, every brave act, let it be a hammer against their fear." Mira nodded slowly. "And if we fail?" Jacob shook his head. "We won't fail, because failure is giving up, and humanity doesn't know that word." Meanwhile, across the planet, defiance spread like wildfire. In remote villages, fishermen and farmers watched the alien ships drift above their fields. At first they had hidden, hearts pounding in terror, but then one man lit a signal fire, not as surrender but as a sign of resistance. Others followed. Small fires turned into signals across mountains and plains, a network of human courage shining even under the shadow of doom. In the skies above Europe, amateur pilots began to gather, flying old fighter planes, drones, and experimental aircraft. They could not match the alien speed or firepower, but they had determination, skill, and a willingness to sacrifice. Each launch was a message. Humanity would not bow. Jacob watched all of this, feeling something he hadn't in years. Hope. Not the naive hope of the weak, but the sharp, burning hope of people who understood their worth. Humanity was more than flesh and metal. Humanity was spirit. It was courage. It was laughter in the face of annihilation. In a dark corner of the command room, Mira whispered almost to herself, "Do you think they understand?" Jacob smiled. "They will. When we strike back, they will learn that humans are not afraid, that we fight not because we have no fear, but because we choose courage over it. That is something no weapon can erase." Outside, the Armada waited, patient and cold, believing their dominance was unchallenged. They could not see the fires, the planes, the people rising. They did not hear the whispered words of mothers to children, soldiers to one another, or scientists to volunteers. Humanity was awake, and the first spark of defiance had become a flame. By nightfall, the world felt different. Even under the shadow of unimaginable power, humans smiled at one another. They helped strangers, trained together, and shared food and resources with new purpose. Fear had been transformed into resolve, and somewhere in the Armada, alien eyes or sensors must have registered it, the first signs that humanity would not bow. And deep in Colorado, Jacob and Mira watched the stars burn red above them. Humanity had not fired a single shot yet, but already, they were winning the battle that mattered most, the battle for spirit, for heart, for soul. In the quiet moments before midnight, Jacob whispered to Mira, "Tonight they think they rule the sky. Tomorrow, we will remind them who owns the earth." And for the first time in a long while, Mira believed it completely. The first strike did not come from missiles or cannons. It came from the sky. At dawn, the world held its breath. The Koresh Armada had stayed silent all night, their massive forms floating like dark clouds over every continent. People expected horror, destruction, submission. But what they saw instead was small, almost laughable, humanity's first move. From hidden airfields, hangars and makeshift launch pads, old fighter jets, drones, and experimental aircraft lifted into the air. They were slow. They were fragile. Against the alien ships, they seemed nothing more than insects buzzing around a storm. Yet every pilot knew the truth. The mission was not to destroy, but to confuse, to survive, to show that humanity would not kneel. Captain Mira Solon watched the feeds with Jacob Reese at her side. The small human fleet danced among the alien vessels, weaving, dodging, and striking where they could. Some ships were destroyed immediately, disappearing in bright, violent flashes, but the human pilots kept flying, refusing to quit. "This is madness," one officer muttered. Jacob smiled faintly. "Yes, and yet, look at them." The cameras showed something extraordinary. Humans refusing to die quietly. They were not heroes born from legends. They were ordinary people, facing impossible odds, standing tall because their spirit demanded it. Farmers who had never flown before now navigated drones with precision. Students who studied physics became engineers in the heat of battle. Humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology, it was their courage. On the ground, soldiers fired what weapons they had, targeting alien supply ships and scouting vessels. Their attacks were small, often ineffective, but the aliens began to notice patterns, movements that were unpredictable, chaotic, yet coordinated. Confusion spread in the Koresh command. They had expected fear. They had expected panic. They had not expected resistance, and then came the laughter. It started quietly. Children giggling on rooftops. People shouting words of encouragement across streets. Radio broadcasts filled with defiance and humor. "We're still here," one announcer cried. "You can't scare us." The laughter spread faster than any army, flowing through cities and villages, through fields and mountains. It reached the Armada, though the aliens could not comprehend it. To them it was noise, useless, meaningless noise, but humanity understood. The laughter was a signal. It meant fear had been replaced by courage. It meant the Koresh had underestimated what made humans dangerous. By midday, humanity's efforts began to show results. Alien scouting ships faltered under coordinated attacks. Drones jammed their sensors. Earth satellites, repurposed with human ingenuity, scrambled the communication signals of smaller vessels. The Armada had never faced anything like this. not because of weapons, but because of unpredictability, creativity, and relentless determination. In the Colorado Command Center, Jacob turned to Mira. They think they are the masters of the sky, but the sky belongs to no one. Today they learn that humans belong to themselves and we fight for each other. Mira nodded, her heart racing with pride. The losses? They're heavy. Thousands have died already. Jacob's face hardened. Yes, but every loss strengthens us. Every act of bravery shows that fear is powerless against a human heart. They cannot erase what we carry inside us. Across the planet, ordinary people became soldiers in the greatest war humanity had ever faced. Engineers repaired downed vehicles, scientists hacked alien technology, and volunteers distributed food, water, and medical supplies. Families hid, yes, but they also helped each other fight. The spirit of unity spread faster than any weapon. And then it happened. The first alien ship fell. Not from a massive bomb or a superweapon, but because of human ingenuity and daring. Pilots had exploited a flaw in its design, a weakness that no one could have predicted without human creativity. It fell in a blaze of fire, crashing into the ocean with a sound that shook the coast. Humanity cheered. Jacob's voice came over the global feeds. Today we have shown them that we are not afraid. Today we have shown them that every human being is a spark. Together we are a fire no weapon can extinguish. The Koresh, watching from above, began to realize their mistake. They had unleashed terror to bend humanity. Instead, they had awakened it. Every strike they attempted, every weapon they fired, only strengthened human resolve. The Armada had power, but humanity had something more: heart, ingenuity, courage, and laughter in the face of annihilation. By nightfall, the sky was no longer just a place of fear. It had become a battlefield of hope, where humans proved that no matter how dark the storm, the light of courage could never be extinguished. And deep underground, Jacob Reese and Mira Solon smiled at one another. They knew the war had just begun, but humanity had already won the battle that mattered most. We were alive. We were unbroken, and above all, we had shown the universe one undeniable truth: humanity fears nothing that tries to scare it. The victories of the morning gave humanity hope, but the afternoon brought a harsh reminder. The Koresh had patience as cold as the void of space. From the black hulls of their massive armada, the aliens began to unleash their real power. Energy beams sharper than lightning cut across cities. Entire bridges vanished in a flash. Oceans boiled where the massive cannons struck. The world felt the weight of extinction pressing down again. People ran, but this time they did not flee in fear. They ran to fight, to hide, to protect one another. Humanity had learned that courage was not the absence of fear. It was acting despite it. Families formed barricades, soldiers coordinated with civilians, and engineers worked under fire to reroute energy grids and shield hospitals. The world had become a battlefield, and every human being had a role to play. In the Colorado Command Center, Admiral Jacob Reese studied the incoming strikes. On the screens, buildings crumbled, forests burned, and yet the humans kept moving. He turned to Captain Mira Solon, her face pale from the constant updates. "They're striking harder than we imagined," she said. "They're testing our limits," Jacob nodded. "Yes, and we will meet every strike. Humanity is not made of steel alone. We are made of spirit. Every fire they set, we will rise from the ashes stronger. Every life they try to take will be remembered, and every act of bravery will echo in the universe." Mira looked out the window, where the horizon glowed orange from fires that raged across distant cities. "Do you really believe we can survive this?" she asked. Jacob's eyes were steady, unwavering. "I don't just believe it, I know it. They've never faced anything like us. They faced empires, planets, weapons, but never the heart of humanity. That is our strength." Across the globe, humans responded in ways the Koresh could not anticipate. In Europe, civilian engineers turned old communication satellites into decoys, confusing alien targeting systems. In Africa, Farmers used rivers and forests to hide vital supply lines, guiding resistance forces in perfect coordination. In Asia, students and teachers formed drone networks to scout alien movements, giving soldiers and pilots precise intelligence. Even as the shadow of the Armada grew darker, the world refused to bow. Humanity did not wait for orders. They acted instinctively as one organism, moving with a rhythm that no alien technology could predict. The Koresh were used to obedience to trembling victims. They had never seen this kind of organized chaos fueled by hope and defiance. By evening, the aliens realized that fear alone would not work. They began targeting symbols of human unity: massive power grids, major cities, communications hubs. The destruction was immense. Entire regions went dark, leaving millions to navigate a world of smoke, rubble, and chaos. Yet, even in the face of catastrophe, humans found ways to resist. Emergency networks rerouted power, underground communities shared resources, and through every darkened street, whispers of courage and defiance traveled faster than any machine could. Jacob watched a live feed of New York, where volunteer teams carried children through the burning streets, guiding them to safety while warning others of incoming attacks. Mira stood beside him, holding a tablet showing drone feeds of European resistance cells. Both of them understood the truth. Humanity was learning, adapting, evolving faster than the aliens could comprehend. And then came the moment that changed everything. An alien dreadnought, the largest ship in the Armada, hovered above the Pacific. Its cannon glowed, ready to strike a chain of cities along the coast. A strike of that magnitude would have destroyed millions instantly. Jacob's team scrambled calculations, but there seemed no possible way to stop it. Then Jacob turned to Mira, his voice calm yet filled with fire. Humanity does not bow to impossible odds. We make our own odds. Launch everything we have. Distract, confuse, survive. And above all, fight like the world belongs to us, because it does. Across the globe, pilots, engineers, and civilians acted in perfect coordination. Fighter jets swarmed around the dreadnought, while drones and decoy satellites jammed its sensors. Teams of volunteers guided missiles along paths designed to mislead the alien targeting systems. Humanity's first coordinated global strike was not perfect, but it was enough. The dreadnought faltered. Its massive weapon misfired, exploding in a burst of fire that lit the sky like a second sunrise. Humanity cheered even in the shadows of devastation. They had faced the mightiest weapon of the Armada and survived, not through superior technology, but through courage, creativity, and unity. Jacob turned to Mira, eyes glimmering. They think they are gods, he said softly. But the truth is, no god can command a human heart. Today we reminded them of that. Mira nodded, her lips trembling in a mix of exhaustion and pride. And tomorrow? Jacob smiled. Tomorrow, we strike again. And every time we strike, we show them that humanity is not afraid to laugh at fear. Above them, the alien Armada hovered, silent now, unsure, and for the first time, truly afraid. The night after the dreadnought's failure, the world did not sleep. Fires still burned, cities still lay in ruins, and millions mourned the lives lost. Yet across the planet, humans moved with renewed purpose. Humanity had faced the impossible and survived. That was enough to ignite a spark of hope that no alien weapon could extinguish. In the Colorado Command Center, Admiral Jacob Reese studied the Armada, now hovering silently over the planet. The Koresh ships had begun to adjust their tactics, attacking smaller groups, probing defenses, testing humanity's limits. But Jacob knew their minds were troubled. They had expected obedience and panic. Instead, they had met strategy, courage, and laughter. Today, Jacob said to Captain Mira Solon, we show them that survival is only the first step. We strike back not out of desperation, but because we choose to. Humanity never waits for mercy. It takes its own destiny. Mira looked at him, her eyes filled with admiration. And if we lose more cities? Jacob shook his head firmly. Then we rebuild. But we will never bow. Never. They will see what it means to fight for your home, for your family, for your planet, and when they see that, their fear will be greater than ours. Across the globe, the human effort became a symphony of defiance. In Europe, underground resistance fighters ambushed alien patrols, using guerrilla tactics that no Koresh intelligence could predict. In Asia, civilians turned skyscrapers and factories into mobile command centers, coordinating strikes across hundreds of kilometers. In Africa and South America, communities used the forests and deserts as shields, moving quickly to support each other and launch counterattacks. The first human victories were small but symbolic. Alien scout ships were destroyed, supply lines disrupted, and communication networks jammed. Pilots who once feared the sky now flew with fearless precision, exploiting every flaw in alien design. Engineers and scientists worked day and night, creating devices that bent light, redirected energy beams, and gave humanity an unexpected edge. In the skies above New York, a small group of fighters executed a daring plan. Using human-made drones as decoys, they tricked a Koresh battleship into a trap, luring it toward a hidden network of electromagnetic fields. The ship faltered, its systems overloaded, and for the first time an alien vessel crashed in a cloud of fire. The world watched in disbelief. The impossible had happened. Humanity had won, and yet the victory was not without cost. Millions had died. Cities lay in rubble. Families were broken. But even in grief, humans found strength. Volunteers worked tirelessly, rescuing survivors, treating the wounded, and protecting those who could not protect themselves. The spirit of unity burned brighter than any weapon. Jacob turned to Mira, his voice quiet but filled with fire. They think fear can control us. They think destruction will silence our spirit. But we've learned something important. Fear may visit us, but courage lives in our hearts. Every act of bravery is louder than their weapons. Every life we save is stronger than their fleet. Mira smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. They don't understand. They can destroy ships, buildings, even armies, but they cannot destroy humanity itself. Above them, the Koresh armada hesitated. They had faced resistance before, but never like this. Every strike they launched, every beam they fired, only revealed human resilience. Humanity adapted faster, fought smarter, and refused to bow. What they thought would be an easy conquest was turning into a nightmare of unpredictability. In a quiet moment, Jacob activated the global broadcast. His voice, calm and unwavering, echoed across every city and village. "People of Earth," he said, "tonight we have fought not because we had no fear, but because we chose courage over it. They came to terrify us, to make us bow, to erase our world. But they have learned a truth that cannot be unlearned. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity laughs at fear. Humanity fights for its own future, and we will never stop. Stand together. Protect one another, and show them that every human being is a spark that cannot be extinguished." Across the planet, people cheered. Children laughed amidst the chaos. Soldiers embraced civilians, and volunteers ran toward danger to help those in need. Hope spread faster than the alien fleet could comprehend. Humanity's laughter, defiance, and courage became the signal that united the world. Jacob looked at Mira, his eyes shining. "We are not just surviving," he said. "We are winning the war they thought they could control. And tomorrow, we show them that the heart of humanity cannot be defeated." Above Earth, the Koresh ships hovered, silent and uncertain. They had unleashed terror to dominate, but instead they had awakened something they could not understand. They had unleashed fear, but humanity had returned it with laughter, courage, and unyielding will. And so the tide had begun to turn. The war had reached a new level. The Koresh armada, massive and cold, stretched across the horizon, but humanity had learned to fight, not with fear, but with spirit. Every corner of the planet was alive with resistance. Cities had become fortresses. Fields and mountains served as battlegrounds. And through it all, humans laughed, cried, and fought together. In the Colorado Command Center, Admiral Jacob Reese and Captain Mira Solon watched the global feeds with growing pride. Every battle, every rescue, every act of defiance had brought humanity closer to the impossible truth. They were not victims. They were warriors. "Look at them," Jacob said quietly. "Every human everywhere fighting together. Every life matters. Every spark counts. That is why we will win." Mira studied the screens, showing pilots diving at alien ships, engineers repairing drones mid-flight, volunteers carrying the wounded. "They're everywhere, Jacob. Even in the ruins, humanity refuses to give up." Jacob nodded. "And that is the difference between us and them. They have weapons, technology, and fear. But we have heart. Every time they try to break us, our spirit grows stronger. Every laugh, every defiance, every moment of courage. It is a weapon no cannon can destroy." Above the Pacific Ocean, the largest Koresh dreadnought moved again, this time toward a cluster of cities along the coast of Asia. Its massive engines churned clouds into fire, its weapons glowing ominously. Millions feared the destruction it could bring, but humanity did not tremble. From underground command centers to mountaintop observatories, humans coordinated. Fighter pilots swarmed from hidden airstrips. Drones and decoys lured the dreadnought's targeting systems astray. Engineers rerouted power and disrupted sensors. Civilians guided squads of soldiers, moving supplies and protecting the wounded. Every human acted as a part of a single living organism, an organism that refused to die quietly. The dreadnought fired. Its massive beams cut through the ocean and sky, striking cities, bridges, and forests. Fires raged, smoke darkened the sun, and cries echoed across the world. And yet humanity pressed forward. The first wave of human pilots struck at weak points in the ship's armor, exploiting gaps only human ingenuity could find. It faltered. Then came the humans on the ground. Underground teams had planted electromagnetic disruptors, and scientists directed beams to confuse its navigation systems. Engineers in nearby cities detonated controlled energy bursts, carefully timed with human drones attacking its outer hull. The dreadnought shuddered, systems failing. For the first time, a Koresh ship of unmatched size and firepower was vulnerable. Jacob and Mira watched with held breath. They had not just survived, they were changing the course of the war. The dreadnought exploded in a blaze of fire, lighting the sky like a second sun. Humanity cheered. Humanity roared. The sound carried across continents, a universal declaration that humans would never bow to fear. But the victory was not without cost. The cities near the coast were devastated. Millions had died and the planet's scars were deep. Yet in every ruined street, in every ruined home, humans rebuilt. Volunteers carried the wounded. Soldiers helped civilians escape. Communities shared food and water. Even amidst destruction, the human spirit burned brighter than any alien weapon. Jacob turned to Mira, his voice calm, yet fierce. "They came to terrify us, to make us kneel. But we are not afraid of fear." They wanted obedience. Instead, they met courage. And that courage will not stop, Mira, it will grow. Every human alive today carries a spark that can ignite the world. Mira nodded, tears in her eyes. They think their technology is enough. They think their fleet can crush us. But they don't understand us at all. Jacob smiled. No, they don't, and they never will. We are humanity. We laugh at fear. We rise from ashes. We fight because it is right. And we do not fight alone. Every life matters, every heart counts, every moment of defiance adds to our strength. The Koresh armada hovered, unsure and uneasy. Their attacks had failed to break humanity. Every strike met resistance. Every weapon they fired only revealed human creativity and courage. They had expected submission. Instead, they found a force they could not predict, a force they could not destroy. And across the world, humans continued to act, to laugh, and to fight. They carried the wounded, protected the innocent, and never stopped resisting. Humanity had proven something the universe could not ignore. Strength was not measured by technology or power, but by heart, courage, and unity. Jacob looked at Mira one last time. "The heart of humanity is alive," he whispered, "and it will not be silenced. Not now, not ever." Above Earth, the alien ships trembled in ways no human weapon could cause. They had unleashed terror to control humanity, but instead, they had awakened something far more powerful: the indomitable spirit of an entire planet. The final day of the battle arrived like a storm. The Koresh Armada, once a shadow that stretched across every continent, now hovered uncertainly, their massive ships battered, confused, and weary. Humanity had survived every strike, turned every attack into a lesson, and now prepared for the moment that would decide the fate of Earth. In the Colorado Command Center, Admiral Jacob Reese stood at the viewport staring at the blackened sky. Captain Mira Solon stood beside him, silent, her eyes filled with exhaustion and pride. Around them, officers worked tirelessly, coordinating every move, every strike, every effort to drive the aliens away. "They think they can break us," Jacob said quietly, his voice steady, strong. "They think fear will make us kneel. But they've forgotten something. Humanity doesn't kneel. We fight, we rise, we endure. And today, we remind them of that truth." Across the planet, humanity moved as one. Pilots, soldiers, engineers, and civilians acted with precision and courage. Old fighter jets swarmed the alien ships. Drones disrupted communications. Scientists hacked into alien systems, feeding them false information. Volunteers guided the wounded to safety while others sabotaged alien supplies. Every human played a part, every life mattered, and every act of courage strengthened the global effort. The Koresh struck with fury. Energy beams cut across the sky, cities burned and oceans boiled. Yet humanity responded with ingenuity and bravery. Pilots dodged, engineers adapted, and civilians acted with unity that no alien could anticipate. Every strike the Armada launched only revealed the flaws in their calculations. They had underestimated the unpredictable, unbreakable human spirit. Jacob and Mira watched the largest alien dreadnought prepare for one final strike. Its massive weapon glowed ominously, capable of leveling entire regions in seconds. Millions held their breath. Fear pressed down on the world like a weight, and yet humanity did not falter. Jacob turned to Mira. "We don't fight for survival alone. We fight for each other. Every life counts. Every heart matters. And today that will be our greatest weapon." The plan was simple in its brilliance. Human pilots drew the dreadnought's attention, weaving through its defenses. Engineers guided coordinated energy bursts to overload its systems. Drones jammed its sensors. Volunteers on the ground executed controlled disruptions that confused the alien navigation. It was chaos, but a chaos designed by humans, unpredictable, daring, and fearless. The dreadnought faltered. Its weapon misfired, a massive explosion rocking the sky. The Armada watched in disbelief as humans, against every expectation, continued to press forward. Another ship fell. Then another. Humanity had turned the tide not with superior technology alone, but with courage, heart, and relentless defiance. Jacob looked out at the sky. The blackness was dotted with fire and smoke, the sounds of battle echoing across continents. But amid the destruction there was hope. Humanity had survived. Humanity had fought. Humanity had won. And then it happened. A broadcast went out across every signal the Koresh could detect. Jacob's calm, unwavering voice reached every ship, every alien sensor, every corner of the Armada. "People of Earth and those who came to terrify us," he said. "You thought fear would make us bow. You thought your power would break our spirit. But you forgot one thing. Humanity does not fear the impossible. Humanity laughs at danger. Humanity rises from ashes. Humanity fights not because we are fearless, but because we choose courage. And we choose it now. Every human alive today is a spark. And together we are a fire you cannot extinguish." Across the globe, humans cheered. Children laughed. Soldiers embraced civilians. Volunteers carried the wounded. Even in ruins, humanity rejoiced. Laughter and courage filled the streets, the skies, the oceans, an invisible force the aliens could not comprehend. Above them, the Koresh ships began to retreat. Their technology was powerful, their weapons deadly, but they had underestimated the most formidable force in the universe: the human heart. For the first time they felt fear, not of fire or metal, but of the spirit that refused to bow. Jacob turned to Mira, his eyes shining. They came to terrify us. They unleashed their armada to make us kneel. But they learned what humans always know. No one can command our hearts. We fight, we laugh, we survive, and we endure. Mira smiled through her tears. We did it, Jacob. We showed them. Humanity is unstoppable. And as the alien ships vanished into the void, leaving Earth battered but unbroken, a single truth echoed across the planet. They unleashed their armada to terrify humanity, but we laughed instead. Across the ruined cities, forests, and oceans, humans stood together. They rebuilt. They healed. They celebrated life, courage, and unity. The laughter of humanity rang through the world like a song to the stars, a message to the universe that humans could never be intimidated, never be broken, and never be tamed. And somewhere, deep in the silence of space, the Koresh remembered that lesson forever. Humanity had fought, survived, and won, not through fearlessness, not through technology alone, but through heart, courage, and the unstoppable power of a species that refused to bow. The stars shone again, and this time humanity laughed among them.